first want to pay homage and respect to the many souls that have fallen in the name of African liberation, of the many people that have been brutally taken away from us, that have been stolen away from this soil, and that we had to bury in this soil because oppressive regimes did not recognize the value of African life. And we do that also because we realize that we have become victims of a similar onslaught. Some of us do not value African life. Some of us do not take pride in African life. Some of us have not devoted ourselves to the liberation of us. Some of us are our own enemies. And as much as we want to place our pain at the feet of our oppressors, at the feet of the settlers, at the feet of those who invaded and stole and looted and killed us, we are also here to remember that we have a responsibility. Today we are commemorating and standing before 69 souls taken away just because they believe in this continent. Today we need to report back. How have we spent our lives? Their lives were brutally taken away. What significance was their loss of lives? Can we stand before them and say, because of you, look at what we have done. Because we honor what you did so courageously, look at what we have produced. Look at who we have become. Look at how we rise as an African people, believing in us. Look at our beautiful, peaceful homes where no violence is happening. Look at the African woman, how freely she walks everywhere, because there is no man who would want to rape or beat or put her down. Look at how strong our brothers are, because they know who they are and they would never violate anyone, including themselves. Look at our children, how much they know about our beautiful African history, how they understand their culture, how they know everything there is to know in the beautiful African universe. But that is not the whole report. There are a number of chapters in this report that we need to present to these 69 souls that are depressing, that are upsetting, and that I want us to take responsibility for. Because truth be told, we haven't built that many African schools. Truth be told, we haven't stood by our sisters. Truth be told, we haven't given the African man sense and purpose. Truth be told, many young people on this continent wonder why they are alive. Who's going to answer that question? So, Bahulo, I just want to greet you with those words and hopefully reach something within your soul, because I want you to also give a report to these 69 souls. I don't know what your report is going to be, but I hope it is one of saying that I'm devoted to this continent, and my devotion can be shown. My devotion is not a cute speech. My devotion is not a TV program. My devotion is not a fancy presentation when the stage lights are on. My report to you is what I do every single day, whether I am acknowledged for it or not. My report to you is what I live, what you find me doing when you come unannounced to visit me. That's the report you need to give. What is your report? What is your report? African family, I stand before you as Dr. Buntu, Director of Ebukhosini Solutions, a company that we started in 2002, or a community, I would rather say, which has family at its center. We believe that amongst the many, many things we need to do as African people, we need to get family right. And I want you to just think about what your experience of family has been. Maybe it's been beautiful, maybe it's been painful. But we know that many still grow up in the space of family, not being affirmed, not having their mind and heart being nourished, not knowing that they are descendants of the first people on this planet, not knowing how serious it is to be African. Do you know that you are a chosen people?
Oh, yes.
Chosen. Chosen not so much in hierarchical rank, but chosen as the blueprint of humanity. We are supposed to guide the world, and right now we can't even guide ourselves. So we need to get it together. And I'm not here to say that Ebukhosini is a perfect organization and everything we do is the best in the world. We really try to do the best that we can. But everyone who's involved in community work, you know how under-resourced it is, how lonely it is at times, and how much you wish you had more, and that you could help more, and that you could do much more. But what we do, just to stand before you and say a little bit from what we do. So we have an African library. We think it's very important that we as African people study our history. And because it doesn't come to us through these murderous schools that we are forced to go to. Yes, I'm calling them murderers because they actually kill our souls. We become less in many ways. As much as we may have a certificate, as much as we might be eligible for certain positions, after going through that, it comes at a very high price. When you're a good student, when you're a good employable person, it normally means that you are less of an African. That's the truth. That doesn't mean we should not study, shouldn't mean that we don't go for certificates. But the price cannot be this high. And we also need to, that's one thing we want to work towards when we are seeking partnerships. And Princess Nikki Webam and so many others are helping us on that journey. Because it is time for us to open our educational centers. First, this is where I come back to family, because the first school in every African life must be home. It must be home. So we need to guide our young people, because they also want to shape families. All many young African people know is that they don't want the type of marriage that they have been exposed to. Now that's sad. But it doesn't make it impossible. I see the reason I continue to do the work that I've done, and I've done it for a while, probably 35 years. The reason I wake up and I can't wait to get my hands into whatever needs to be done is because of young people. And I don't want it, I'm not saying this to sound cute or anything, but I really live my life for young people. And they don't have to thank me for it, that's not my point. My point is just that I don't see any value in this life if we continue to do the same thing that we've been struggling with for decades and generations, and we don't invite young people to sit at the front table. So thank you for the initiative that you're launching. Thank you for those of you who have stepped forward and said, I'm willing. I am a solution. I may not have all the answers to all the questions, but I'm willing to find them. And I'm willing to not rest until I have many of those answers, until I have them so deeply that I can actually pass them on to the next generation. This is where education started. This is where research started. This is where science started. This is where mathematics started. This is where architecture started. This is where life started. Who are we to stand at the back of the queue and say, excuse me, I'm just African. We don't have the right. We represent the cultural parents of this earth. So we need to shape ourselves in a certain way. And it doesn't come from arrogance. The thing is, when you know that you are great, not because you just feel great or want to be great, but you know you are great because you are actually made great. You walk with a certain posture. And you don't need anyone below you so that you can feel good. You don't push anybody down so that you can feel great. You just walk differently. You greet people. Yes. Can I take a seat? I don't know you. But I belong in this world. And we walk as a people that do not belong in this world. And we see too many of us doing that. It's too normal. So we focus a lot on African-centered education, reading, writing, and working with young people also means that we bring in artistic and innovative ways of producing knowledge. We use poetry, we use music, we use the artistic way that young people feel comfortable with. And then I'll just say one more thing, and then I won't take too long time. But I said that we're working on family. How do we do that? So what we do, part of the work that we do, Princess Nduwibam mentioned that we have programs for men. We have programs for African men, we have programs for African women, and we have programs for us together. And it's not gender programs. What am I saying? How does that make sense? The point is, when we meet as men, we are not sitting there, see, we are men, see, men, yeah, we are men, at least we're not women, we are men. That's not what we talk about. The question and we have a group called Shabaka. Shabaka is a great pharaoh that lived 700 BC and changed his whole society by introducing knowledge from his ancestors. That's what we feel as African men right now. So the question to every man who wants to be part of Shabaka is, am I the best African man that I could possibly be? And if I'm not, why? And when I've found answers to the question why, and I've laid out all the different reasons I may find, which one of those reasons am I willing to take responsibility for changing, for improving? And then the work starts. Because when that's the template, you need to be extremely honest. So when you say, what in your life is not working? You see, people don't like me. You see, government doesn't give me jobs. You see, this system doesn't. No, I wasn't asking you that. What is wrong in your life? Why are you hurt? Why are you angry? Why don't you want to talk? Why do you invite people into your life and say you want to love them, but you hurt them? Why do you do that? Are you aware of doing that? Is that what you want to do? Is that your life mission? Because if it isn't, why are you continuing? And to get to that answer, you need to do work. Work that many of us are unwilling to do because it hurts. You already felt like you are failing. Now you're going to feel that you are even failing more. But that's the only way you can go to start to build up what you really want to be. So I just gave you a little bit of an insight into how we work with men. We do the same with women. But what I meant when I said it's not gender project. It's not that we just sit and talk masculinity, 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 femininity, 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 men, woman, men, woman. It's not that. We understand that as African people, we are supposed to be a union. Part of my manhood is in an African woman, and I'm not talking about relationships now. I'm talking about the mirror to my existence. Is my sister, is my mother, is my daughter. And if I cannot recognize as an African man, I am not an African man. And the same goes the other way. But I completely understand why sisters don't even want to consider that at this time, because women have been hurt so many times and been promised so many times and been left so many times. And that's part of the work that we need to do as African men. What does it do to us when sisters are saying, I don't trust you anymore? I wish I could, but I can't. I wish I knew who of you I could trust. I wish who I knew I could form a relationship with and I would be happy for the rest of my life. But I don't know who. So I will have an attitude. I will say no. I won't smile just because you call me. I'm not going to give you my number just because you want to. And our response needs to be deep. It is, you see, now you're trying to be difficult. You see, now you have an issue just because you see, you think you are better. Our answer has to be different. Our answer has to be something like, I am a broken man. And I didn't decide to break myself, but I have to take responsibility for the bits and pieces I now represent and the way they are not even organized into the shape and form that I have for myself, because I speak to African men almost every day who say, this is not who I want to be. But I don't know how to be different. I don't know where I go to find the help. I don't know where I can have the conversation. I don't know who I can trust to admit and relate and say all the things that I never say, even to myself. I'm not saying that to cause sympathy and now we should feel sorry for us as African men. That's not my point. But there's a job that we need to do as African men. And we need to take a responsibility. Because like I said, I cannot fully be a man without walking this journey of life in the reflection of my sister. And your life is also not full as an African woman when you cannot reflect it with the experience of me as an African man. And because I'm seeing some of you, what is he talking about? Walking next to his sister, bro. We are at a stage where we don't even know what that means anymore. And what I want us to recognize is that this is part of a design. Because the colonial design was not just to take land, just to take gold, just to make sure they could rule our countries. They wanted to rule everything, including who we are, including how we think, including how we relate to each other. So the breakdown of the African family sits at the root of the design of colonialism. But that's not enough, because once we have placed that fact, we can't just take a step back. Well, it's colonialism. What can I do? I'm a violent man, but it's colonialism. So what are you saying? The undoing, the healing, the reassembling of the African men and women we really need to be for our children, for this land. This land is waiting for us. This land is saying, come on, guys. You need to toil me. You need to touch me. You need to understand me. You need to make me grow. I'm burning to grow. Why are you not putting your hands inside me? Oh, I don't want to work with land. It's dirty. I don't know. It's for workers that are below me. They must come and do this. Make something grow. Make me something to do. We are an agricultural people. And it's sad when we look at that as a low position. Because it actually is the highest. It's the first. It's the highest. How can you have a higher job than actually creating the food and the strength and the power of our nation? How can that be a low position? How can that be something you don't want to do? How can that be something we say, I'm not sure. So what we often want is performance. Click, clack, down the corridors, perform. An image that looks powerful, but how many of you, whether you have the experience yourself or you've seen it in friends, people in high positions, how many of them do you know that are really happy? None. How many of them do you know that feel, you know what, I'm so grounded. Like I'm put together. I really understand my healing, I understand my African consciousness, I understand my spirituality. The surprise for these positions. And we are led to desire them because they look powerful, I agree. There's a nice package around some of these power positions. They look very powerful. It looks like you really have access to everything in the world. But it comes at a price. And you know, the moment you step into that office, you know that Africanness, let me leave it right here. Let me not even do the damage of bringing it in. Because once I do, I'm signing my own resignation. So, let me close there by saying maybe the last thing of working with children. I'm sure there are many parents in the house, and I hope that you have the same experience as me, that African children actually want to learn about themselves. So if you have an experience of African children saying that, yeah, but when I sit down with a book, when I want to close off the Spider-Man and open up a story about Marcus Garvey, they switch off. That might not be the child's fault. That actually might be yours. Because maybe when you take on the voice and say, come here, we're going to talk about culture today, it doesn't come with the same excitement. Say, hey, Spider-Man, yo, Mickey Mouse, yo. Because Mickey Mouse is cool, it's happening, it's vibey. And then there's, let's talk about Shaka Zulu and how you need to learn this, you need to understand this. And why, hey, come back, why don't you? You understand? So maybe we are boring teachers. Maybe we are boring teachers. It's not the nicest thing to know, but it might be the truth. So my point is, and I'm living this on a daily basis in our home as well, to get our children interested in what is our story. What are the nuances? Because there's a lot of coolness in Africanness. There's a lot of vibe. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of dynamic. Even in our political history. So get them to even understand what colonialism was. Why we have why we have had racial segregation, what white supremacy means. Obviously, you have to start at a certain level depending on the age of the child. But I'm just saying, because some of us say, no, I'll have that conversation when they are ready. What does that even mean? When they are ready? This is what was brutally taken away from them. They're not supposed to know this. So you need to start early. You need to start the drawings, the pictures, the images, and now there are some helps for this even online. So this is part of what I've tried to do, is to draw a picture of how important it is to center the African family in everything we do. Mother, child, father. And as we do that, also admit the pain that we see. Because as African men, we also want to be free. We just don't know how. As African women, you also want to be free. And we need to find the solutions. So for instance, what we do when we have sessions for sisters and brothers is we bring everybody into a room, and then I'm not going to go through the details right now, but it's something that maybe we can do. Then we have a guided conversation where the whole point is for African men to listen to African women. Not tell them, no, I think what you really mean is this. No, you know what? Let me help you. No, I don't have to help you. You have a voice. You have an experience. Let me listen. Rather say, what do you mean when you say this? Do you always experience this? Is this like common? Can I just check? Does every woman in the house? That's a different conversation. And the same goes for women. Instead of saying, but you see now men, instead of saying that, say, but why do you, like I hear a lot of men say that, but I don't know what it means. Can you explain it to me? Can you share with me what happens in you when you say that? That's a different conversation. And what I experience is that when we come out of those sessions, there's something that has been taken off our shoulders. And I'm not saying just because of one session we are fully healed, but we have experienced maybe one brick taken off, and a little bit more of energy to continue a walk towards the victory that we all need to take some responsibility in building. So with those words, I just want to say thank you for the work that has started and is about to start right now. As Ebukhosini Solutions, we can vouch. We are standing for and with you. And in any way that we can assist, help, impart, we will. You have our words. And maybe let me just introduce my youth team. Like Princess said, we just came from Sharpeville. So I am with Janela over here, who is an author, poet, and a teacher. I am with Anissa over here, who is also a poet, an artist, and also a social activist. I'm with Minetla over here, who's also an artist and a very creative being. I wish you could hear her speak. I hope she's going to say something a little bit later. And Bukani is over here. He's also an artist and a youth leader. These are some of the sons and daughters. We call them sons and daughters because that's my responsibility as a man who's aging, to give young people a sense of fatherhood. And that doesn't mean I'm a perfect man at all. But it means that I remember my scars from not being fathered. I know what that means. And based on that experience, I know that I also have a mission and a space where I can help young people who need to see positive Black role models. So and these are things that you don't even have to be part of a program to do. This is something that you do within your family, on the street, where you stay, whoever you pass. Have conversations with young people. Now I'm going to stop. I have said I'm going to stop for a long time, but my closing statement is this. We need to, when I say love, love is a very strange word for me. So I often replace it with honor. Even when I talk about romantic love, I talk about honor. Because what I honor, I don't hurt. What I honor, I keep my promise to. What I honor, I have respect for. What I honor, I don't have a problem to say, you know what, maybe you are right, maybe I was wrong. I don't have a problem to do that with who I honor. So right now, my message is just, can we honor our youth? Can we honor them? Honor them until they say, I'm being honored. Not even us saying, you see, I'm walking around honoring young people. No. They should say, you know what? I'm actually being honored. I'm experiencing being honored. And until then, let's work. Very, very, very hard. Thank you so much for this space.